And I'm going to start with you, Mathatha, and with the sort of dilemma that the minister is faced with this morning. On the one hand, he's working within legal parameters. On the other hand, there's a very emotional South African public out there that wants certain kinds of results. What does he do today?
I think the issue is quite simple. He's a lawyer anyway, so he knows that the law is supreme. And he can't keep Debbie Lewis in jail in a way that is not consistent with the law, because then it will just mean that it's back to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court is going to order him to abide by the law. And then at that point, it is no longer his own decision where he can say he released him because, but he will then have been forced by somebody else to do it.
Alet? Is it as clear-cut as that for you?
I think so. You know, the law's obviously very important, and I think that's what he's most probably going to abide by, the law, what the law prescribes. But it is a difficult situation. I really don't want to be in his shoes today because it is a very emotional issue.
And it's an interesting thing. I mean, you've covered Eugene de Kocks' case for so long and very widely. But you've also seen the various steps in his, what many would say was his rehabilitation in prison and so on. Just talk us through that prison time and the sort of change that many people say he has undergone while behind bars.
I think we must start off by saying that people must remember, people like Eugene de Kocks, you know, they were trained and groomed to obey orders and then also to give orders and expect people to obey the orders. The times that I've seen him in prison, it is amazing to see this guy who was a colonel in the police force, how he addresses, for example, the correctional services wardens, how he'll say meneer, you know, or sir, and address them like that, and very, you know, submissive. So that's, first of all, his background. I think in the beginning, especially during the time of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, there was a lot of anger in him, not towards the ANC, but towards his own people, you know, that governed the country at the time, because he felt he was left out to dry while the orders, he was given orders to do what he did, and he felt that he was made the scapegoat. But I think over the 20 years, he's started to realize the pain of the families. He's felt it. He's met with a lot of the families. You know, a few years ago, he told me that he was going to help the National Prosecuting Authority to try and find the remains of those people who are still missing. And he said not only those that he was responsible for, but also the others, because you must remember a lot of the former operatives won't talk to the authorities because they're very scared of repercussions, even today. But they will most probably speak to Eugene de Kocks and tell him what they know, and he was very prepared to help. So I think he's come a long way. You must also remember he's lost a lot. He lost his family, he's lost his possessions, his money. That man's got absolutely nothing left of those things. So I think it's been a hard, long road for him over the past 20 years, and when you go through that, there has to be change.
Are we taking agency away from him, Mathatha, by saying, well, he was simply a cadre of his own apartheid movement who took orders, followed them to the T? Should we be looking at this through the prism of saying, well, actually, you know, completely objectively, this man is a serial killer who's callously sat around and had braais over people's bodies. Do we want to release that kind of individual into our society?
Well, I think as a society, South Africans took a decision in 1993 when the Kempton Park agreement was reached, that things were going to be handled in a particular way. The TRC was a result of that understanding. And the fact that de Klerk, who was a minister in that government that gave de Kocks orders, walks around the streets today and even has streets named after him, whilst de Kocks, who was carrying out orders, has to struggle to get out of jail. It's inconsistent. It doesn't excuse de Kocks from his own position as a human being who should have refused to do things that are inhuman. But there were people behind him, and for as long as those people who gave him orders are not being persecuted, there is absolutely no reason why he should not, having gone through what he has gone through, be released to come out of here. There's a lot of inconsistency in some of these approaches. There were people who were saying the ANC leadership must take responsibility for the mess that happened in the camps where people were tortured, but nobody says de Klerk. And all the other, and Big Bota, and all these people who now gallivant all over the world as the biggest liberals this world has ever seen, but who were part and parcel of a machinery that produced the de Kok.